Welcome on board the Newstrack in the midst of a raging debate over the delay in the CBI's probe into the Sushant Singh Rajput death case. A big India Today exclusive is coming up on the Newstrack tonight. We will have the lawyer of the family of Sushant Singh Rajput square off against Rhea Chakraborty's lawyer for the very first time on national TV. And that's my big focus on the Newstrack this evening.
The so-called lawyer who keeps coming on the TV.
He just called you a so-called lawyer.
He's a famous lawyer, I'm a so-called lawyer, I have no difficulty with that as well.
They blamed the Mumbai police. They blamed the NCB. Now the blame is being put on the CBI.
When the matter was argued in the Supreme Court, her lawyer never once conceded that it should go to the CBI. We were expecting that CBI will not give so much of importance to our case, and that is what exactly is happening.
As far as Rhea Chakraborty is concerned, she is not concerned with the immediate cause of death of Sushant Singh Rajput.
This is a face-off that's viraling, trending, huge traction being generated around it. I suggest you stay back and watch this. And it's also one of the very special things about the India Today group, where we get both sides of the story on the same platform. Because remember, journalism is not about pushing just one side. That's propaganda, not reportage. We listen to both sides and allow you, our viewers, to form their own opinion. Because in the midst of the family of Sushant Singh Rajput alleging that there's been a huge delay and that the CBI is not coming up with any definite answers, the CBI today put out a statement where they said that no angle is unexplored, nothing has been ruled out, and that their investigation is still continuing. And this CBI statement coming in the midst of huge questions about why the CBI team and the AIIMS forensic team haven't been able to come together to some final analysis on what is it that led to the death of Sushant Singh Rajput.
Suicide, movie mafia, murder, money laundering, drugs. Nearly 3 months after Sushant Singh Rajput's death, the case and the investigation has changed several directors. The prime accused in the case, Rhea Chakraborty, charged with abetment to suicide, is in jail on drug charges. The CBI, which was handed over the case on 19th August, is yet to conclude its probe. All eyes are now on the AIIMS medical report that has studied that late actor's viscera and the pictures of his body to find out if Sushant Singh Rajput died by suicide or if he was murdered. The AIIMS team led by Dr. Sudhir Gupta has studied the ligature marks on Sushant's neck, his postmortem and viscera reports and the crime scene reconstruction details. It is medical team report that will answer whether Sushant hanged himself or did someone strangulate him. But the delay in investigation seems to be frustrating the actor's family. Sushant's sister, Shweta Singh Kirti, took to Twitter and asked, when will the truth be out? Sushant's family lawyer, on Friday, questioned the CBI investigation and made a sensational claim that a doctor who is part of the AIIMS team had told him long ago that photos of Sushant's body indicated that he was strangulated.
Now, what senior doctor of AIIMS, seeing the picture himself, makes a statement that this is 200% death by strangulation and not, it can't be death of us, it can't be a suicidal death at all.
However, Vikas Singh's claims have been dismissed by head of AIIMS panel. Dr. Sudhir Gupta has said the lawyer's claims are incorrect. He says that the investigation is still going on and nothing can be concluded by just seeing the ligature marks.
एक हफ्ते से सीबीआई टीम यहाँ आके दिल्ली आके बैठी हुई है और एम्स की टीम यहाँ बैठ करके वेट कर रही है उनकी मीटिंग की, और आज तक मीटिंग नहीं हो रही। तो कहीं ना कहीं एक डिले करने का बड़ा एक गंभीर समस्या इसमें उठ रहा है, जिसके लिए परिवार बहुत चिंतित है।
The CBI on its part has clarified that it is conducting a professional investigation in the Sushant Singh Rajput death case. CBI maintains that no aspect, including the murder angle, has been ruled out as of date, and that the probe is continuing. The focus of the Sushant death mystery seems to have now shifted from murder probe to drug trail, with top Bollywood stars being summoned by the Narcotics Control Bureau. The actor's family lawyer says the drug angle is derailing the probe.
अक्यूज्ड के कहने से किसी का नाम अगर जोड़ा नहीं जा सकता इतने आसानी से। अक्यूज्ड तो 10 आदमी को बदनाम करना चाहेगी, इसलिए अक्यूज्ड तो कुछ भी बोल दे, उस अक्यूज्ड के बोलने को तो कोर्ट नहीं मान सकता, ना उसको प्रोसिक्यूशन को मानना चाहिए। तो इसलिए मेरे हिसाब से जो दिशा जा रही है इस इन्वेस्टिगेशन की, वो दिशा जरा घबराने वाली है परिवार के लिए।
What happened to the Justice for SSR campaign that swept the nation after the actor's death? Has the focus of the case shifted? Will the truth about Sushant death mystery ever be revealed? India awaits answers to these questions. Bureau Report, India Today.
So there's a huge debate raging around the delay in the CBI's probe, and leading the fight on both sides of this story that's captivated people's imagination across the country are the two men you see on your screen right now. To my left, the lawyer of the family of Sushant Singh Rajput, Vikas Singh, very well-known lawyer in the Supreme Court, in fact one of Delhi's best lawyers. Squaring off against him is one of Mumbai's biggest legal faces, the lawyer of Rhea Chakraborty, Satish Maneshinde. This is an epic legal face-off that's playing itself out in the courts, on TV, and in public imagination. Which of these two gentlemen will carry the day? And this is the first time both these lawyers are on TV live at the same time. I want to go across first and foremost to Satish Maneshinde on the delay in the CBI's probe. Over the last few weeks, the focus has entirely been around the drug angle, the Narcotics Control Bureau arresting Rhea Chakraborty, and the original case, which was the charge about abetment to suicide, about allegations around Sushant's murder. Nothing seems to have come off those. What are you making of the reasons behind the delay and the manner in which the CBI's probe has gone on so far? Satish Maneshinde.
Well, as far as the CBI is concerned, I have no complaints about it at all. In June and July, when Rhea Chakraborty appeared before the police on more than 2 occasions, she made a statement and she sent a message to the Home Minister of India, Mr. Amit Shah, that it is time that CBI was brought into the picture to investigate the case. She was the first one to call for a CBI investigation. Subsequently, the matter went up to the Supreme Court because we challenged the matter of transfer from Patna to CBI, and therefore the Supreme Court has transferred it to the CBI. It is at the instance of the victim's family, the so-called lawyer who keeps coming on the TV, has been agitating number of times about the investigations being conducted by the Mumbai police and various other organizations. Now, I had warned that people who have no patience, people who want to get to predetermined result in an investigation, will keep trying to blame the investigating agencies time and again. They blamed the Mumbai police. They blamed the NCB to say that why are they parading Bollywood? Now the blame is being put on the CBI, and it was startling to know that Mr. Vikas Singh, appearing for the family, disclosed that one of the team members of the AIMS had declared to him that there was a 200% assurance that this was a case of murder by seeing photographs which were privately clicked by one of the family members of Sushant Singh after she found the dead body on the bed lying in Sushant Singh's house. Those pictures were not shot by any investigating agency or any police officer or anyone concerned with the CFSL team. So if a doctor is going to disclose that there is a 200% assurance that this is murder and this is strangulation, I fathom to think as to how the investigations are being conducted. And now if after the CBI has referred the matter to the AIMS, it is for people to wait for the result of that investigation. It is time for that AIMS team to come into the picture and say what findings they have arrived at. So when this is happening, a doctor who has discussed the matter with the victim's family and come to a conclusion that it's a 200% strangulation, he must be stripped of his powers to be a member of this team. And the CBI, if at all it has to be a case of impartial investigation, they must constitute a special investigation team of a medical board of doctors and refer it to a new team so that tomorrow there is no other blame being made by anyone against any doctors or any part of the investigation. We have full faith in the CBI, we have full faith in the judiciary, and we have not made a single complaint in spite of the fact that Rhea Chakraborty has been targeted right from the beginning. We even made a complaint to the Honorable Supreme Court about the media trial being conducted by certain channels in our country and mounting pressure on the investigating agencies and the judicial authorities. But in spite of that, Honorable Supreme Court did not think it fit to utter a single word on our complaints of media trial. There are various petitions pending in various high courts and in the Supreme Court. I hope someday, some decision will come on these petitions.
The key focus over the next few hours and days is going to be on Rhea Chakraborty's bail plea. I was speaking to top officials at the Narcotics Control Bureau who are sounding exceedingly confident that they will be able to prove before the judge, explain to the judge or persuade the judge that they have adequate evidence to back the invocation of 27A under the NDPS, which is essentially much more than just consumption. So she's not an end consumer, but she's an active part of the drug syndicate. That's the charge that's leveled against her. You, on the other hand, will argue before the court that that is not true. How confident are you at this moment of being able to secure bail for your client, Mr. Maneshinde?
Well, it is my duty as a lawyer to make my submissions before the court. I'll place him tomorrow whenever the matter is heard. And I think it's premature for me to make any assessment on what I'm going to make submission before the court and the findings. I would not like to discuss anything about my bail application that is coming up for hearing tomorrow. In fitness of things, I do not want to make it a media trial as far as the bail proceedings are concerned.
There are reports coming out that on the complaint that you filed, first with the Mumbai police, which was later handed over to the CBI, the sisters of Sushant Singh Rajput will also be called in for questioning by the Central Bureau of Investigation. So what do you make of the fact that the sisters are likely to be called in? And from Rhea Chakraborty's perspective, what are the kind of questions you hope that the CBI asks? What are your charges against the family of Sushant Singh Rajput?
Well, first of all, when she made the complaint before the Mumbai police, she was fully aware of the fact that ultimately it will be transferred to the CBI because the Honorable Supreme Court has passed directions that any complaint in relation to Sushant Singh Rajput's death should be transferred to the CBI and investigated by the CBI. Therefore, she made a complaint in which she narrated as to what happened on the 8th, as to how illegally prescribed medicinal drugs were being administered to Sushant Singh Rajput. And from the 8th to the 13th, the sister of Sushant Singh Rajput was residing with him. So both the sisters were privy to the fact that their brother was under medication for depression and other ailments on the basis of wrongly prescribed drugs. And apart from that, Sushant Singh Rajput's servant, Neeraj, has made a statement, full-blooded statement to the police that prior to his death, Sushant had asked him to make ganja rolls and keep them in his room, ganja joints, and which he's checked after his death and found that the box where he had kept those ganja joints were over and exhausted. So the combination of drugs, narcotic drugs, and medicinal drugs, which were prescribed to him and administered to him illegally, beyond the scope of law, where could have been the reason which has been the complaint of Rhea Chakraborty.
Okay.
So I feel the CBI, on the basis of her complaint, should interrogate both the sisters and anybody else concerned with it, including the doctor who made that illegal prescription, and they must go into the fact whether that was responsible for his death, because they were the most proximate persons available at his residence when he died.
You're calling him a so-called lawyer. The knives are out in this battle between the two high-profile advocates arguing on different sides of this divide. Vikas Singh, in fact, now joins us. He's listening to what you're saying. Satish Maneshinde, you've hit out as hard as you could against Vikas Singh, and what I'm going to do, and you're welcome to listen in, is get Vikas Singh to respond to some of the very direct charges, including questioning. I know, I'm just putting it
Rahul,
because you said, you called him a so-called lawyer. Yes, I know that
is
is
my
a
elder brother in the profession.
Yes,
and he knows about it, that I respect him. He was supposed to dine in my home and have some pamphlet which is being postponed because of the pandemic.
What, Mr. Vikas Singh, you were supposed to have fish.
Of course, Satishji.
Now, God knows what fish you guys are frying.
So you're always welcome on the 34th floor.
Rahul, in our profession, you can never appreciate our profession, Rahul. It's a very beautiful profession that way. However, daggers drawn we may be while representing our clients. Outside the court, we are all friends, so we never talk against each other.
He just called you a so-called lawyer. Now he's calling you to have pamphlet with him. Next, you'll be calling him to come and play tennis with you.
I said so-called family lawyer. I didn't know to name him.
Okay, now Mr. Maneshinde has asked some very pertinent questions, and Vikas Singh is listening in. Now I want you to respond to them one by one. First and foremost, his contention that your clients, the family of Sushant Singh Rajput, was most proximate between the time his client, Rhea Chakraborty, left Sushant's house and Sushant's death. Therefore, he is asking for the CBI to expeditiously call your clients, Sushant's sisters, to be questioned about their involvement in the death of Sushant Singh Rajput. How do you respond to Mr. Maneshinde, Mr. Vikas Singh?
Well, as far as responding to Mr. Maneshinde is concerned, we are used to responding in court, not on channels. So that is not something I'm going to comment on here today about what our stand is going to be. So let that remain some other day, some other place, some other venue. Not on your channel, Rahul.
No, but Mr. Maneshinde also asked very important questions, Mr. Vikas Singh, about how suddenly, after having demanded that there be a CBI probe, the family of Sushant Singh Rajput seems to have lost faith in the CBI, and you're raising questions about the CBI. He says Rhea Chakraborty, his client, has never once questioned either the CBI or the courts. Why is it that your client, Mr. Vikas Singh, has suddenly lost all faith in the CBI, or at least you're questioning the delay of the CBI? What's your problem with the CBI's probe, Mr. Vikas Singh?
Well, Rahul, now that the question of CBI is concerned, in fact, Mr. Manashinde's client was, saying openly that she wanted a CBI probe, but when the matter was argued in the Supreme Court, her lawyer never once conceded that it should go to the CBI, never once. I don't know whether Mr. Manashinde was tuned in for that hearing or not, but he never once conceded that this. So that's the real double standard. As far as we are concerned, we didn't want CBI initially for the simple reason that we thought that in so many important cases that CBI is handling, our case will get lost. But when the Patna police was obstructed from investigating, we realized that probably we don't have a choice, so we have to go to the CBI. Now our original fear appears to be coming true, that our case is getting lost in the CBI because suddenly our case has got very low priority, and priority is shifted to other cases. So that's a completely consistent stand, Rahul, unlike the stand of Mr. Manashinde's client. So please don't try to put it the other way.
Can I argue, Mr. Vikas Singh, and play devil's advocate, which you like doing so often, that maybe this isn't a low priority case for the CBI? This is about as high priority as any case in the public eye has been. And maybe, and that's not something that you'd be particularly happy about, the CBI hasn't found any evidence to substantiate the theory of murder, which some TV channels have been crying themselves hoarse about, and your contention that this is a case of abetment to suicide. Maybe there is no such evidence, and therefore the CBI doesn't have anything to please you in its final findings, which is why you and your clients are now unhappy.
Well, Rahul, CBI is not meant to please anybody. That's first thing. And you must have this very, very clear on your show, and you must also understand this. They're not meant to please anybody, whether it be me, whether it be anybody else. Their idea is to go for an investigation. And as far as I am concerned, I am not pleased with anything. I'm only wanting the truth for my clients. So if there is no murder, supposing if there is no murder, although that question does not arise today because the meeting between CBI and the forensic team has not yet taken place, and that is the real grievance, that why is that meeting not taking place? It's only after that meeting that they will be able to take a call whether it is murder or abetment to suicide. But even if it is not murder, abetment to suicide case will definitely continue. And for that also, the fast track will have to take place of according to me, custodial interrogation of the players, and that is getting delayed.
No, so instead of me imputing motives, let me just ask you a direct question. It's been more than 2 weeks since the CBI team and the AIMS team came back from Mumbai. They haven't yet met despite being in the same city and despite that meeting being planned for last Tuesday. What, according to you, Mr. Vikas Singh, is the reason behind the CBI team of interrogators, investigators, and the AIMS' forensics team not even having a basic meeting? Why do you think that's happening?
Well, that is what I told you, Rahul, at the very first when I started, that we were expecting that CBI will not give so much of importance to our case, and that is what exactly is happening. So somehow they don't have the time to do this kind of a meeting to take this case forward. Then obviously it is a low priority case, unlike what you are claiming it to be, that it's a very high priority case for the CBI.
Mr. Vikas Singh, no, one second. Just stay with me for a moment. You're saying this is a low priority case. This is the one case that's been covered wallpaper across TV channels. How can this be a low priority case? Maybe
on the basis of what you told me, Rahul, that they have been here for 10 days and not having time to meet. I'm going by what you told just now, that they both have been here in Delhi and they don't have the time to meet each other. That I'm going by your statement that it is a low priority because they don't have the time to even discuss this case.
In the manner in which you're hoping to leave this discussion, Mr. Vikas Singh, so quickly,
this meeting should have taken place.
Can I argue that it's Mr. Satish Maneshinde who seems more calm right now, relaxed and listening in? You're seeming slightly more edgy. If this was about which counsel seems more assured about his case and more confident about winning it, at least in the public eye, is Mr. Satish Maneshinde winning just at this moment in this argument? Would you concede that, Mr. Vikas Singh?
I don't mind conceding to Satish Maneshinde. He's a dear friend, so no issue of winning a debate on TV. If he wins the debate on TV, I'll be equally happy, or rather happier.
Okay, and what are you making of the now?
After all, he's a friend, as I told you, Rahul, in the beginning.
He called you a so-called lawyer. I saw that. He called you a so-called lawyer.
I'm a so-called lawyer. He's a famous lawyer. I'm a so-called lawyer. I have no difficulty with that as well.
What are you making, Mr. Vikas Singh, before I let you go, of the Narcotics Control Bureau and their probe at this moment and how that impacts your clients, the Sushant Singh Rajput family? Mr. Vikas Singh.
Well, it really doesn't impact our case very much, except that if in the narcotics case it comes that Sushant was being administered some drugs without his knowledge and without his consent. So that angle will definitely affect our case, but otherwise it's a very big case. It's a very important case. It concerns the next generation of this country, and if it is being sort of consumed in drugs, then it's a very, very sad state of affairs, and I'm sure the NCB should take corrective action as far as the drug angle is concerned.
But Mr. Maneshinde, in the contention that he laid out, actually raised questions about your client, Mr. Vikas Singh, saying that between the 8th and the 14th, it's your clients, the sisters of Sushant Singh Rajput, who were in direct proximity to this Bollywood star, and therefore they're the ones who need to answer questions about administering drugs to him. So all the questions that you were earlier asking of Rhea Chakraborty are now being asked of your client Sushant's sisters.
Well, as I told you at the very start, that this is something which we will do in the court and not here and not on the TV channel. So I want to be consistent on that. And you're repeatedly asking the same question, by using different words will not, sort of entice me to step into the witness box and start answering those questions.
He's invited you to the 34th floor for some Bombaya pomfrey. Are you signing up at least for that?
Yes, of course I will. Of course I will go. He's invited me a long time back. It is because of the pandemic that I haven't been to Mumbai for some time. So whenever next Satishji, whenever next time in Mumbai, we'll have our...
he has his hand up. He wants to come in an interjection. I am hardly any judge or jury, but since he has his hands up, I'm going to go across and get Mr. Maneshinde to make a quick intervention.
Rahul, I said so-called family. So-called family is lawyer. Okay, don't misinterpret.
Don't worry, he's coming for the pomfrey regardless.
According to the present government, there's only one
regardless.
family whom they're targeting.
But
according to the present government, there's only one family whom they're targeting.
I'm very curious to see, Satish Maneshinde, how you
misinterpret things. I'll never say anything adverse to my friend.
You can junk the clients, throw them under the tire, but not say anything against somebody in the bar. But I am keen on knowing how you respond to Mr. Vikas Singh's contention that the Sushant Singh Rajput case seems to be a very low priority case for the Central Bureau of Investigation, which is why, despite the CBI team and the AIMS team being in the same town, they haven't had an opportunity to meet. Do you buy that argument by Sushant's family lawyer that this is a low profile case and the CBI isn't taking it seriously, sir?
I don't think so, because Sushant Singh was a great actor and a star. Apart from that, even before the papers reached the CBI constituted a SIT, and we knew the names of the officers who were going to investigate the case, because it was all flashed by you guys in the media. So I don't think it's a low priority at all, because the entire team was stationed here in Bombay. Like I told you, all the investigations had to take place in Bombay because the jurisdiction was of Bombay. So therefore, the entire team from the CBI, including a senior officer, came to Bombay and got stationed in Mumbai till the investigations were, according to them, quite enough for them to come to a conclusion. Now, if the CBI has gone back to Delhi and they're going to take their own steps, it doesn't mean that it's a low priority case. It's according to me, I think the CBI treats every case equally, whether it's high profile or low profile.
Would you allege with Vikas Singh listening?
I will tell to the government to be of that opinion.
Can I ask you a direct question, Mr. Satish Maneshinde? Is it your case that the CBI has probably not found any evidence to back the charges that Vikas Singh and his clients have been putting out against your client, which is possibly why the family of Sushant Singh Rajput is now not happy with the manner in which the CBI investigation is taking its own sweet time and dragging according to them?
See, I don't know about his feelings, but the factual aspect of the matter is that Rhea Chakraborty left the house on the 8th and was not heard of or being in contact or with touch with anybody from the household, including the family members, from the 8th till the 14th. So I'm confident that as far as Rhea Chakraborty is concerned, she is not concerned with the immediate cause of death of Sushant Singh Rajput.
Okay, I want to just end this over here, but just say this, Mr. Vikas Singh, when you go to the 34th floor for that pomfrey, just take one of our cameras along. We'd love to just see how that conversation goes and have both of you with us then in that conversation. I want to thank you for joining us. This is the first time we've had the family counsel of Sushant Singh Rajput and that of Rhea Chakraborty, and now Kshitij on the air at the same time. So for that, Vikas Singh and Satish Maneshinde for joining us with your very, very sharp insights. And I'll leave it as always to our viewers to decide. You heard from Vikas Singh, you heard from Satish Maneshinde. Who sounds more confident? Who sounds more assured? Who thinks he's getting this case? And because for both of them, and do you agree with that? You've been lawyers of high eminence for a very long time. The manner in which this case has captured public imagination, would you concede that this would possibly be the one case, Mr. Maneshinde, that defines your public image? If you can swing this for your client, versus Mr. Vikas Singh swinging it for his, that would be, forget what people in the bar and those in the know think of you, but in public perception, that would be really how you'll be defined, Mr. Maneshinde?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't take it as a feather in my cap to have any kind of result in this case. But one thing I must frankly tell you is that I have been so much attacked and, trolled in the media. And in spite of my request that don't speculate on the result and my fees, in fact, some channels have gone to the extent of discussing as to where I get my money from and how my clients pay my fees. So if this is a way, it's the narrative of the media that is happening, good luck to all of them.
I don't want to pair what the India Today group is doing with what the rest of the media is doing. I think that's really for viewers to decide. We've tried to be a cut above to the extent that is possible. We've tried to present the facts as they are, and this is the first time you've had Satish Maneshinde squaring off against Vikas Singh live on television. You heard from both the counsels who've really captured public imagination in a case that's captured the public imagination. As always, we leave it to you, our viewers, to decide who you thought had the more compelling argument. Satish Maneshinde and Vikas Singh for joining me on the Newstrack. Thank you. You're on board the Newstrack in a major development in the Bollywood drug probe. Karan Johar's former employee, Kshitij Prasad, who is in the custody of the Narcotics Control Bureau, has alleged that he's being tortured and forced to implicate the filmmaker. This even as a forensic investigation of Karan Johar's now infamous 2019 party video is being conducted.
The Narcotics Control Bureau's hunt for Bollywood drug racketeers has come under a cloud after one of the suspects has alleged a witch hunt. Kshitij Prasad, a former employee of Dharma Productions, has made an explosive claim. Prasad alleges he was being pressurized to name Karan Johar.
According to what he told us through his wife on the first day, he was humiliated, he was harassed, he was threatened of arrest.
Prasad, who is in the NCB's custody till the 3rd of October, in his statement to the magistrate, also alleges he suffered third-degree torture. He claims NCB officer Sameer Wankhede kept his shoe near his face, telling him that that was what he is worth. The NCB officer has rejected the allegations.
Sir, Kshitij said that there was third-degree torture given to him. And all that. How do you say?
We are a very professional agency. We do not believe in all such things.
So you completely. And they're also saying that those things seized were not ganja or cigarette butts. How do you see that, sir?
Again, I'm repeating, we are a very professional agency.
Kshitij Prasad, who was working as executive producer with Karan Johar's company, Dharma Production, came under the radar of Narcotics Control Bureau after disclosures made by 3 arrested drug peddlers. Karamjit, Sanket Patel and Ankush Arneja, during their interrogation, told NCB that Kshitij had brought drugs from them on multiple occasions. Based on this disclosure, Kshitij's house was searched and he was brought to the NCB office, after which he was questioned and placed under arrest on the next day. During interrogation, Kshitij's phone was also checked and NCB officials found chat messages of Kshitij where he was communicating with drug peddlers asking for hashish and MDMA.
Sources tell India Today that the forensic report on Karan Johar's 2019 video of a party is now with the NCB. The report, according to sources, says the video is authentic and not doctored. The video features the big names of Bollywood like Deepika Padukone, Ranbir Kapoor and Shahid Kapoor. So far, the NCB has not indicated that it will act against anyone on the basis of that video. With Divyesh Singh in Mumbai, Bureau Report, India Today.
The evidence that you have at hand, your client has told you that he's being put under pressure to incriminate Karan Johar. What are the specifics that you have to offer and what evidence do you have to back that charge?
See, first of all, Kshitij was in Delhi for the last 10 to 12 days prior to the search of his house. His house was searched by the NCB after he came from Delhi, and till his house was searched, it was sealed. And when they searched the house, they found nothing other than a cigarette butt on the balcony of his terrace. Thereafter, the NCB seized the said butt on the ground that it contains narcotics. And so a panchnama was made. The wife insisted that you must say that you believe it to contain because there's no test carried out by you. Subsequently, he was taken to the NCB office. Unlike others who were issued summons, he was taken in their van. At the NCB office, from 11:30 to 6:30, he was kept in detention. And after 6:30, the interrogation started. The thrust of the entire interrogation was to implicate somebody from Dharma Productions, because according to the NCB, he was a right-hand man of one of the senior executives. Subsequently, it was revealed that he is not working for Dharma Productions, but he is working as a production manager for one of his sister concerns. So thereafter, he was allowed to stay there overnight. And they told him that it's because of your security concerns that we're keeping you here tonight. The next morning, he was interrogated by the famous Mr. Samir Wankhede. And according to what he told us through his wife on the first day, he was humiliated, he was harassed, he was threatened of arrest, and also at the same time given an assurance that if he implicates the senior Johar, he will be let off. But since he did not accede to that statement of the officer of Mr. Samir Wankhede, he was made to sign a statement under threat and after being blackmailed that unless
no,
he
but
signed that
when we
statement,
spoke to sources at the Narcotics Control Bureau, Mr. Maneshinde, they said anybody who is in a spot of bother, who has charges of drug consumption against him, is only likely in his defense to say that he is being put under pressure and made to incriminate somebody else. You're leveling these sensational charges against the Narcotics Control Bureau. Do you have one iota of evidence to back this, sir?
well, the iota of evidence is that firstly, there is nothing which was incriminatory found in his house. The chats which have been recovered by the NCB does not include anything to say that he was consuming drugs. Nothing to say that he was distributing drugs. Nothing to say that he was working directly under Karan Johar or any senior official of the company. And the fact that he was detained more than 24 hours before his production in court. He was detained at about 8:30 and taken to the NCB office. Thereafter placed under arrest after more than 24 hours. That itself tells me that we should not go by what the NCB is telling us about the so-called statement which they are disputing of Kshitij. And mind you, I have not raised this point against any other officer or any other accused on behalf of any other accused. Why would I raise it only on behalf of Kshitij?
Let me ask you that question then. Why are you leveling this charge against the NCB? What is it that you think the NCB is trying to get at? What is your specific allegation against them?
No, I'm leveling it because only Kshitij has communicated to me this fact, and the fact that Saket, who is supposed to have delivered to him 12 packets of 50 grams each, was never known to this guy, Kshitij, and he has never met him face to face. So for him to come and make a statement that he has delivered 12 packets of the same drug on 12 occasions, particularly when there was a pandemic and you can see the CCTV of his building, there's no delivery of anything that could take place during that time.
No, so because what we're being told is that Saket and Kshitij apparently came face to face. And that's when Saket said, yes, I recognize Kshitij from the WhatsApp photo and he's the man I've been delivering drugs to. So you're saying that nothing of the sort happened and that Saket, whoever this person is, the peddler, is just cooking up these facts?
Saket is a friendly guy to the NCB. He was acting as if he's part of the NCB and very friendly with those people, as if he has been moving in and out. So this, I will need evidence to that effect as to how he landed there. I'm going to call for his mobile record and then produce it in the court. And there are so many ways to get to the truth. If the NCB wants to get to the truth, so-called truth, by record of the telephones, we can also get to the bottom of it by record of his telephones.
Why do you think the Narcotics Control Bureau is putting pressure on your client Satish Prasad to incriminate Karan Johar?
If you see right from the beginning, there are a lot of allegations being made against Bollywood in spite of the fact that nothing major has been recovered from anyone. Apart from that, my client has no business to involve Karan Johar because he has never worked with him directly, nor has he ever met him in the last 1 year. He joined his company, a sister company, only in November 2019, and they're trying to connect everyone and everybody to Karan Johar's so-called party in July 2019, in which Karan has made a statement to the effect that he does not promote drugs and he does not consume drugs. And particularly since he has been uncontroversial as far as these habits are concerned, I feel that someone is trying to manipulate evidence so as to involve and, falsely implicate people who have no connection with this case.
Now, the one person who's had a running feud with Karan Johar is Bollywood actor Kangana Ranaut. Are you suggesting that the NCB, possibly at the behest of Kangana Ranaut, is trying to incriminate Karan Johar to try and take him down? Is that the allegation?
I don't know the feud about both of them, but one thing is certain, that Kangana herself has declared on TV that she was an addict. How can I trust the words of an addict in such a case? And why should somebody like the NCB go by the statements of Kangana Ranaut if at all she's making accusations against 99% of Bollywood, having been in the Bollywood for the last 10 to 15 years? It's very unfortunate that she has made allegations, but I'm not concerned with what she has done. But she herself is a drug addict according to her own statement. Why should anybody trust her statement?
Now, many people who are watching you at this time, Mr. Maneshinde, would find it rather curious that you first came on television as the counsel for Rhea Chakraborty. Now you're the counsel for Satish Prasad. How is it that all these people in and around Bollywood who end up in trouble, have drug charges leveled against them, would like you as their counsel? What happened?
Well, first of all, I get into a case wherever there is injustice done to people. And between you and me, Rhea Chakraborty has come to me sometime in June, July, after the Patna police came into the picture. Satish has come into the picture only now through a friend of mine from Delhi. And there's nothing wrong in accepting somebody's case of this nature, particularly when injustice is being done. Satish Maneshinde is always going to defend such people.
This is where I wrap up the Newstrack tonight. I hope you enjoyed this power-packed broadcast. I look forward to seeing you at 8 p.m. tomorrow evening. Till then, from all of us here on the Newstrack team, goodbye.